Hi everyone, this is Dee, and once again I'm back with more Entercational information. Now, earlier today I read in the news that Shaya Ben Abraham Joseph, aka rapper 21 Savage, was faced with deportation. Apparently, he was riding around with some other people. They got stopped. It seems that when they stopped the vehicle, they were looking for another gentleman. They were actually targeting someone else. But because 21 Savage was in the company of some other gentleman, he got caught up in the mix. And unfortunately, now this time he's facing deportation. Now, I flipped through some articles, listened to a little bit of commentary, looked at some news, and saw basically that rapper 21 Savage is not from the United States. He's actually from the UK. And even though he's from the UK, he did legally come to the United States when he was 12 years old. He came to the United States, but somehow things got mixed up. And as a result of things getting mixed up, now he's probably in a lot of trouble. I know a lot of people who like his music will be upset that he's going through this process, but a reality with immigration law is that once you commit any crime during your visit in the USA, you are subject to deportation. It doesn't matter what the crime is or how minor it is. In the current climate that we have, with a president who is pretty, I mean, some people will say that the president is not a racist, but actions speak louder than words. And when we look at the actions of our current president, the actions of our current president have been to put down, tear apart, and minimize the good impact of black people and brown people in the United States. His main goal is to make minorities look like slaves and to try to put minorities in a position where they're basically slaves taking care of the rich majority, which are predominantly white people. And the sad truth is that someone like 21 Savage, yeah, he's gotten into a little bit of trouble, but his little bit of trouble, he hasn't maintained a ongoing record of getting in trouble, constantly in front of in courts, constantly breaking the laws. He got in trouble once, a few years back, and we haven't heard anything else, about any trouble from him. But somehow he got mixed up recently, just yesterday, and as a result, he's facing the mess that he's facing. One of the things I want to point out is, for many years, USCIS, or the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, have been overwhelmed with cases of people who come to the U.S. on a visa for school or to visit or for one reason or another. When these people are handed their visa at the U.S. consulate or U.S. embassy, the consulate/embassy agent who gives them this document, and in 21 Savage, in his case, because he was a minor, it would have been whoever secured that document for him. That person would have been told at the time they received that visa, they would have been given the breakdown of what's going on. Okay, yes, you are getting a visa. However, this is what you have to do. Once that document is handed over to the person, and basically what they do is they take your passport, they put a stamp, they will put a label, I would say like a sticker, a big sticker in your passport, and it'll say U.S. visa. And on the visa, it'll have the person's information. It'll say when the visa was in fact, what became in effect, and when it expires. The person that works for the consulate or the embassy will explain how long the document is good for, and that the person whose name is on that visa must return to your country of origin before it expires. Not, I mean, if you're leaving the United States on the same, I say, like, say for instance, it expires on March 1st, 2019. You're going to want to leave out February the 28th, 2019, because you don't want to get caught in the United States on the day that your visa expires, because then you will basically make yourself unable to come back to the United States for a certain period of time. Sometimes they'll give you a little leeway, but because of the current culture and the current social strains that we have, the problems that we have with immigration services right now, it's better to leave before. Or if you decide, okay, well, I want to stay, you're going to have to submit another application. You have to submit another application, either requesting from the United States government, can I stay in the country a little bit longer, or can I change my visa status? And all of this must be done before it expires. So that means if your visa is good for a year, I would say probably 4 months before your visa expires, you need to be submitting the application. And not only the application, because you got to pay a fee. There are certain classes of people, there are not classes, there are certain groups of people who don't have to pay those fees. The government makes that determination if you don't have to pay the fee. But for the most part, you're going to have to pay a fee to file that extension or to file a different type of visa. And if you're filing for an amendment to your visa, an extension of your visa, to change your visa, then there are a lot of requirements that have to be met, and you have to give yourself time to get everything that they require of you, all your documentation. You might have to go to a doctor and get a checkup. You might have to go to a biometrics center and be fingerprinted again. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they may require you to do, and it takes time because the government doesn't work fast. It doesn't, nothing happens. Like if you put an application in for anything with the government, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take some time. So if you have a year to be in the United States, and you need to stay longer than that year, or you have a speculation that you need to stay longer, 4 months before that before that visa expires, you need to be resubmitting an application, either requesting a different type of visa that gives you more time, changes your status in the United States, or an extension, a request for an extension. Because if you're not doing that and your visa expires, you have just broken the law. And once you break the law on your visa, the problem is you can be deported. Even if you've done nothing wrong, you just broke the law and you can be deported. So in reality, with immigration law, once you commit any crime during your visit in the United States, you are subject to deportation, even if the crime is allowing your visa to expire. See, most people get caught into these little vague gray areas where they think, well, it wasn't my intention, but this or that happened. You have to plan. You have to plan. That's the reason why, the Republicans and the Democrats are fighting right now, because the Republicans don't want to give anybody anything. They want every illegal alien, they don't care if you've been here 100 years. They want you out. They don't care what you've done to bolster up the economy, what you've done to add to this country. They don't care. They want you out, especially if you're brown or black. They want you out. Brown, black, or yellow. As a matter of fact, they don't care who you are or what you are. They want you out. And so that's the thing you have to understand. In order to not get caught up in that little nasty gray area, it's best to plan things out. Okay, well, what happens if it's a child? Because children can't apply for any type of visas for themselves. They have to wait on their parents. So if their parents screw up and don't apply or get an extension, then that child is caught under a big mess that they may not even know anything about. So As I stated before, once you break a law, and I'm sorry, but if you have a visa that you received when you came into the United States and you allowed that visa to expire before you change the status or before you get an extension, you have just broken a law in the United States of America, which makes you subject to deportation. In 21 Savage, in his case, it's greater than that, because he didn't just break the law. Even though he didn't technically break the law, his parents didn't make sure that he got an extension or change his visa status. So technically he's here in the country illegal. So technically, even though he was a child when it happened, he's technically broken the law. Okay, let's face it. For many years, USCIS, or the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, really just kind of overlooked cases like that. And it's not that they really overlooked it. It's just there are so many cases, they really couldn't keep their pulse on everybody that's here. But because of the current president that we have, things are different. They're getting more money to enforce these applicants who have not only broken the law by being in the country illegally, but have also gone on to break other laws. Now, when you take a look at the case of 21 Savage, because an application for an extended stay in the U.S. or an application for by a U.S. citizen, green card holder, or permanent resident was not submitted to change his visa status or extend his stay. As I stated, he became an illegal alien at the age of 13 or 14. However old he was at the time, he became an illegal alien, which means he broke the law. Now, I'm going to take a moment to offer my disclosure and say that I am not an attorney, nor am I offering legal advice. This information is purely Entercational, #Entercational, which means it is information for entertainment purposes on an educational level. If you need legal counsel, please seek the assistance of a licensed attorney, please. In 2005, the news that I read today reported that in 2005, the rapper that we currently know as 21 Savage came to the U.S. when he was 12 and overstayed his visa by 1 year, when it expired in 2016. So basically, or actually, he overstayed his visa because when it expired in 2006, that's when he overstayed the visa. Now, these are the facts that we've been made aware of. In 2014, it's reported that 21 Savage received a felony drug charge. Now, here is the way it works. If you are an alien in the United States, you're here on a visa, you've been here legally, and all of a sudden you allowed yourself to become an illegal alien. In other words, your visa expired and you didn't leave. The moment your visa expires at 12 a.m. that morning, whatever that morning is, you've become an illegal alien. When you become an illegal alien, you've already broken the law as far as the law is concerned. Anything else that you do beyond that is only going to compound the problem. So you have to walk on tippy toes. You can't do anything, because if you get stopped, you get pulled over, drunk driving, if you get into a fight, if you get caught stealing, if you get caught selling drugs, buying drugs, if you get caught doing anything, breaking any law, at that point, you're already deportable because you're an illegal alien, because your visa expired. So if you then turn around and break another law, they're going to get you out of here, more likely than not. Because they're saying, okay, you could have gotten an attorney and tried to fight this because something happened that you were not in control of. And maybe the government will look at your status as a rapper and you're making money, you're adding into the economy, you haven't gotten in any trouble, you're bolstering Georgia. Maybe they would have looked at his status and said, okay, well, he's not in any trouble. He doesn't have a history of trouble. Let's see what we can do. Maybe they would have fined him, a big, nice, hefty fine because he could afford to pay it, and then made him pay a whole lot of money to resolve it, and then he would have been okay. But in 2014, the rapper we know as 21 Savage received a felony drug conviction. In 2006, when he became an illegal alien, he'd already broken the law. In 2014, when he received a felony drug conviction, not only had he broken one law, he's now broken two laws, which, based on the way the law is set up under immigration. Now, you got to understand, immigration handles their laws differently than just your state and local laws. So, under the Immigration and Nationality Act, this could be considered a violation of moral turpitude because you've got one illegal act compounding another one. People get so crossed up with immigration laws because they don't understand. Once you become an illegal alien, you cannot do anything wrong. Nothing. You have to be an angel so that you might have a very slim chance of overcoming deportation because you simply allowed your visa to expire. It doesn't necessarily mean that once you go before a judge, they're going to say, oh, you got to go back. If you just allowed your visa to expire, and I'm not saying just as if that's not big, because it really is, it's huge. But if that's the only thing you've done, a judge could potentially say, okay, well, we're going to fine you this amount of money. You're going to be required to do this. If you miss any of these things, you will be deported immediately. That's a judge's prerogative. But the moment you break another law, you compound what you've done wrong. And when you compound what you've done wrong, you're illegal and you've broken another law. Then you put yourself in that area with neon lights shining, saying, okay, this person needs to be deported. And everybody can scream and shout and talk about how good of a citizen you are. But guess what? In the eyes of immigration, you already broke one law because you weren't supposed to be here. And then you had the audacity to turn around and break another law. I mean, that's just how they look at it. That's not my view, but that is really how people in the legal arena look at things. They don't look at all of the circumstances surrounding stuff when you've done more than one thing. They may give you a little bit of leeway when you make one mistake, but when there's two mistakes, and especially when it's dealing with drugs, people don't understand these drug convictions, even if it's marijuana. Everybody's so controversial about marijuana because it's not technically a crime that hurts anyone else outside of the person using the drug. And that's debatable as well. We're not going to talk about that. I've written a whole paper on self-inflicting crimes, which don't hurt anybody else except for the person that committed the crime. But we're not going to discuss that right now. But when you look at when you compound the two illegal acts and you go before a judge, now a judge has more fire to say, okay, no, you were here illegally and you've got a drug charge. Nope, we don't need you. Go home. Basically, that's what they're thinking. We don't need you. You're broken drug laws and you were here as an illegal alien. No, we don't need you because you make bad choices. Go home. And so with the current, ICE enforcement and the fact that, he was just picked up yesterday, February 3rd, 2019. I mean, we can pray for him. Hope that, hope that 21 Savage doesn't meet the fate that the law what's actually written in the law states is mandatory for him. but it's highly unlikely. I mean, I'm just going to be 100% honest. Unless a miracle happens, it's highly, highly unlikely that they're going to allow him to just walk away from this. If they allow him to walk away from this, you better believe he paid some huge money, big money, to get out of this. You're not just going to walk away from breaking laws like this unless you got the money to pay for it. And we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're probably talking about upwards in the millions, because the government is going to get theirs one way or another. They're a bunch of rotten, dirty crooks, so they're going to get theirs. I have a few questions because I don't understand, how is it that from 2014, when he got his drug charge, because he had to go before a judge, which means they had to take him in, they had to process him at somebody's police station. They had to run his fingerprints, which I'm going to tell you right now, if you apply to come to this country, they're going to fingerprint you. They're going to get all of your biometric information, your eye color, your hair, your height, your weight. They're going to get a picture. They're going to take pictures of you. They're going to fingerprint you, and they put all of that stuff in the system. Maybe it's because he was a kid when he first came. I don't know. But they have your information in the system. They have actual biometric centers in the United States where they send you to be processed. And you have to go. If you miss that appointment, you will be violated and you will be shipped right on up out of here. So I'm trying to figure out in 2014 when he got this drug charge, how is it that he got a drug charge in 2014? Nothing was ever said or done. They didn't detain him. They didn't deport him then. But now all of a sudden in 2019, rapper 21 Savage is this big guy that we've got to detain. It makes me wonder because he's had to travel all over the United States. He's had to travel probably overseas for shows and stuff. So how is he doing all of this stuff if he is an illegal alien? Makes you wonder, don't it? I think there's something that we don't know about this case. I think there's something that we don't know. And I think we need to keep a eye open to see if more comes out, because it just seems to me that the government is being kind of shady right now. Y'all been letting this man get away with moving around in and out of the country for a while, as he's been a rapper and he's out there touring, he's out there making his money. But all of a sudden, up out of the blue, you arrest him with some other people that have absolutely nothing to do with immigration. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. The government is foul. They're not reliable. I think there's some things that we just don't know. I'm going to share a little bit of the immigration laws with you guys. And this is just in case you know somebody who could be in this situation, or someone who could find themselves in this situation, so they'll know where to go to look at the laws so that they can figure it out for themselves. Because guess what? The law is available to anybody. You need to look at them. You need to keep yourself educated on the laws so you'll know what's going on around you. Because if you don't and something happens, you can't stand before a judge and say, I didn't know. Because it's available to anybody. And if you say, I didn't know, that judge is going to say, that's not an excuse. And he's going to pass judgment on you, and he's going to send you about your merry way. The Immigration and Nationality Act breaks down the reasons people are admitted to the United States and deported from the United States. INA Act 214 has the admission of non-immigrants. INA Act 237 has the general classes of deportable aliens. Now, really and truthfully, I would hope that if anyone knows someone who may be going through some problems, or could potentially be going through some problems, or may need this information, share it with them. Because if you've been admitted to this country as a non-immigrant, you need to know exactly what it is that you're required to do. And you also need to know what you don't need to do. INA Act 214, admission of non-immigrants, and INA Act 237, general classes of deportable aliens. If you don't know, they're not going to care. And if you go before a judge, a lawyer, or anybody else, oh, well, it was just a little bit of weed. Okay. And you just going to get sent home. And you just will be banned and you won't be able to come back to the United States. That's just kind of how it works. And I'm sorry, but if you're of color, if you're a person who's brown, the law is not for us the same way it is for everybody else. So I'm just telling you that right now. Don't get yourself caught up in that situation, because nobody's going to be able to help you when that judge when he slammed that gavel down and he renders a judgment against you. I mean, they can appeal it and all of that other stuff, but let me tell you, there are lots of cases on the appellate dockets that get turned down every day for similar issues, because once you break the law by being here illegally and then you compound it by breaking more laws, they're not going to want to help you or do anything for you. They're going to say that you're a repeat offender, and they're just going to want to get rid of you and send you back to where you came from. In conclusion, one thing to keep in mind is that immigration has its own definition of what laws and public acts are reasons for deportation. Unfortunately for 21 Savage, the fact that he is a black man with an old felony drug conviction, and the fact that our president is hyping up these types of illegal aliens and the whole drug epidemic, it makes me believe that Shia Ben Abraham Joseph, aka 21 Savage, will most likely be deported, and they will definitely use the letter of the law as the reason he will be required to leave. If he is able to if he's able to get out of this, it will be a miracle, because this is the exact type of case white supremacists like Donald Trump use as an excuse to try and get funding for a stupid border wall. They won't look at the fact that 21 Savage most likely flew into Atlanta, Georgia's International Airport and was here legally initially, or that an adult most likely forgot to file the necessary paperwork to keep him here legally. The blonde clones in Washington and their lapdogs will try to spin this as a reason for tougher immigration enforcement. He is an illegal alien and has a felony drug conviction. If he didn't have a felony drug conviction, I would think he would have a better chance of fighting deportation, because he was a child. He didn't make the mistake. Someone else made that mistake by not refiling the necessary documents to keep him in the U.S. legally. The immigration paperwork and process is detailed and expensive, but not keeping up with the government requirements can get you in a whole lot of trouble, as we see with the current case of 21 Savage. I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. That's really all I have for tonight. I didn't really just go into the immigration laws because, honey, when I tell you they are thick, they are thick. They are thick. There are, I looked under section 237, 237(1)/8, USC 1227, and that's where you would find the actual laws themselves. I'm also going to include the INA Act 214, admission of non-immigrants, and INA Act 237, general classes of deportable aliens. I'm going to include the links to these breakdowns, so that if you know someone who needs this information, or if you need it yourself, you can go through there. It's going to be a lot of reading. You can go through there, you can read it, and you can find the information for yourself. But, I just wanted to share that information with you guys today. And as always, as I stated before, this is Black Conspiracy TV, BADTV. This is Entercational information that I'm sharing with you, because I want my brothers and sisters and anybody listening to my uploads, I want you to be able to better defend yourself in this crazy world that we live in. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and have a blessed and safe week. And Black people, please keep your eyes open and your ears sharp. See you guys later. Bye.